meeting to order at 6:32 on August the 4th, 2021. So to our new ones, we're going to have a formal introduction in a second, but one thing we have to do at the start of every Zoom meeting is read what I'm about to read. So this is just part of the law that got passed that allowed us to do Zoom. So bear with me. Pursuant to Senate Bill 2475, which was signed into law by Governor Baker on June 15, 2021, this meeting of the Southborough Advisory Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and our parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So welcome everyone to your first advisory meeting. So Governor Baker extended the ability to have Zoom meetings to next April recently. So that's why we're still able to do Zoom meetings. Before the pandemic, we could not do this. If you wanted to participate remotely, you had to fill out a form. We still had to have an in-person quorum. So it was not the same as now. So since the pandemic, advisories met solely by Zoom. So we've kind of gotten used to it. Jason he's in my upper left-hand corner. I'm not sure where he is with you. He has been our moderator and has flawlessly done the Zoom pieces. So he's doing things behind the scenes to bring people in and out, let us share screens, etc. So that's going on separately. So we're going to meet by Zoom tonight, obviously. The next meeting, we are going to meet in person, assuming no one has an objection to it. We're going to meet at the new public safety building. They've got a really nice meeting room there, which we like, which we used to meet in before the pandemic. So on the 18th, which is our next meeting at 6:30, we will have our first in-person meeting in 17, 18 months, to at least so we can meet each other. We still may go back to some Zooms for the rest of the summer because I know it's hard when people are trying to take vacation and stuff to do these meetings, but we'll at least do the next one in person so we can have a chance to say hi to everybody officially, okay? All right, so we're still waiting for Tom Wilson. He is our 8th member.
He's here, Kathy.
Okay. There he is. Oh, hi, Tom. I didn't see you. Okay, so we're all here now. So let's just start off with an introduction. We've never had this many new members at one time. Our moderator is here in the audience tonight watching this to make sure that his appointees, I think, are here. So anyway, let's just kind of go around the room and everybody, I'm going to let the new people introduce themselves first, and then the older members can do the same things to kind of know what our backgrounds are, etc. So I'm just going to call you as I see you. So Marcy, you want to start?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. So my name is Marcy Jones-Sallow. I'm excited to join the advisory committee. So thank you for inviting me and appointing me to the committee. I think that the advisory committee does very important work. So a little about me. I am a pharmacist by training, and I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I've been there for about 17 years. I started out as a pharmacist in geriatrics and moved my way up to chief of pharmacy. So I'm chief of pharmacy for all of VA Boston, which encompasses 3 main campuses and 5 outpatient clinics. So in administration and leadership, I think, definitely applies to some of the work that we do here on the advisory committee. And I was excited to talk to Mr. Stamino and become appointed. I think that you guys do a lot of strategic planning, operational logistics, review of budgets. So a lot of things that I think I would be interested in and can contribute to. So I'm very excited to take what I know about sort of the federal government system, if you will, and apply it in a personal way to the town government. I've been in Southborough since September of 2019. My husband and I moved here from Virginia. We prior to moving here, we were in Virginia for 3 years on a job promotion for me, and we came back to the area, and he has long ties to this area. But prior to that, we had spent about 20 years or more in Boston and Cambridge. So we are happy new residents of Southborough, on the newer side anyway, and really enjoy the community.
Great, great, good story. Eric, you want to go next?
Sure. Hey, everybody. So Eric Fernandez, similar to Marcy, relatively new to the town, moved to Oak Hill Road in September of 2019, I believe, as well. And my wife, and we have 2 young kids. So my daughter is just about 3 and my son is like 4 months old, so brand new. So that keeps us busy. And if you hear anything in the background, I'll try to mute myself. Professionally speaking, I've spent about 12, 15 years in a handful of roles, but really focused on a combination of sales, marketing, and operations, and fusing those elements of business to either help companies achieve rapid growth, so often launching new products, taking products into new industries or new markets, or turning around underperforming business units. So a lot of strategy work for sure, but also a lot of cross team work in terms of bringing people to the table in a way that they feel that they're have appropriate buy-in, but also hopefully we can have constructive conversations about, how do we innovate, and just because we did it this way yesterday doesn't mean it's the right way to do it today. So I was lucky enough to have some conversations with AP as well as Kathy, just in regards to advisory and the role the board plays, and I'm really excited to dig in and hopefully add some value here. My wife and I really love the community, have gotten to know our immediate neighbors for sure, and want to put down roots and also want to be an active participant. So really excited to be here. Look forward to getting to know you guys, and forgive me if I put my foot in my mouth. This is new for me. So excited. I'm going to play the new guy card though.
No feet in your mouth, and don't hesitate. There's going to be a big learning curve here, and it's fine. So that's how we learn. Adam, I see you next.
Yeah, hello, good evening, everybody. Just like Eric, I am going to need to be prepared to learn a lot of lessons here. So I've never been a part of anything similar to this as far as town politics or policy goes, and looking forward very much to learning it and working with everybody here. Family-wise, I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old daughter. We have been in town for about 7 years now, and we've absolutely loved the town and the community, and really happy to have an opportunity to play a role on a meaningful committee like this and give back to the town a little bit and hopefully learn a few things myself. Professionally, I work for a medical device company, and I'm on the marketing team there. And so work a lot on marketing strategy, launch devices, and my trade is not necessarily in accounting per se, but obviously I'm familiar with and comfortable with conversations that have economic impact. So again, thank you for allowing me for the opportunity to play a role here, and looking forward to it.
So we're not just here for the budget. Budget is very much a part of what we do, no doubt about it. But we need more than just accountants on the advisory committee to be well-rounded. In fact, we could have used a couple of you guys this last season. We spent a whole lot of time with the Board of Health budget, and there's no one on the committee that really has a healthcare background. So that would have been helpful probably for a couple of you to be on to help us figure out what that department really needs long-term. So, okay, thanks, Adam. Hey, Tom. So Tom actually did come to the last meeting. So this is actually his second meeting, but it was a very short meeting. So this is really his first real meeting.
Can't hear you,
Can't
Tom.
hear you, Tom. You don't look like you're muted, but we still can't hear you.
Tom was having some audio issues.
What, Andrew?
Tom was having some audio issues.
So Tom, I'm not sure what it is. You're not muted as far as Zoom goes. So it's something with your machine, probably. So we're going to keep going for now, Tom. You can try to figure it out maybe, and once you know that, just say something and we'll know that you're talking again. But right now we can't hear you. All right. So can you hear me, Tom?
He just chatted. He's having a lot of audio issues.
And it sounds like you can't hear us very well either. So Tom, what you might want to do is dial in with your phone and see if that helps.
Or just log out and log back in sometimes works miracles as well.
All right. So let's tell him that.
I just texted him that. So.
Okay. So Tom, Andrew Pfaff just texted you. Okay, so we'll come back to Tom once we get his audio problem fixed. All right, so welcome everyone. Okay, so briefly, we'll tell you something about the four older members. So AP, you want to start?
Sure. Andrew Pfaff. I actually was born and raised in Southborough. We moved away when I was in freshman in college, so I spent about 10 years or so outside of Southborough. My wife and I moved back in 2017. Also live on Oak Hill, so good representation there in Fayetteville. I background is in finance and technology, so I have held prior roles where I oversaw the budget forecasting process and was the director of management reporting for Santander Bank in the U.S. And now I'm the executive director of transformation for the corporate investment banking division in the U.S. So just kind of do a lot with budgeting, forecasting, and overall transformational projects. So kind of this, and then also the vice chair of the capital planning committee, and Jason here is also a member of that. Kathy was a member of that. So some of us wear multiple hats, but so great to be here. Great to have some new members.
Thank you. Jason?
So Jason Malinowski, I have lived in Southborough since 2013 with my wife, and we have 3 kids, very similar ages to some of the newer members, so can completely understand some of the background noise that may or may not come in during any meetings. I've been on advisory just over a year, filled a vacancy last year, the beginning of the year. Thoroughly enjoyed my first year on it. Have been looking at advisory for a long time, but have been on a lot of other committees in town. Currently chair the capital planning committee and was the chair of the public safety building and study committees. So my professional background is I am a CPA with a public accounting firm, and also am a captain in a neighboring town's fire department on a part-time basis. So came with some perspective of private sector and public sector background, and trying to find a way to make them meet somewhere in the middle has kind of been probably my approach on advisory here.
So Jason was kind of the ideal person to chair the public safety building study committee, and then the building committee, because he really is he's got a full-time job. He's got 3 small kids. So I thought he was just a volunteer fireman. He's a real fireman. One time, he's never missed a meeting, except one time he had to go to a fire that he got called to. But he had the perspective of truly being a fireman and understanding what they need, and then also the financial background. So it's kind of a pretty good combination to chair the committee. All right, Timothy.
Hi. I've been on advisory for probably a year and a half, I think. Kathy, you would know better. I moved to Southborough in 2008 with my wife. We have 3 kids. I've been on a couple of ad hoc boards in town, and then I joined CPC for a few years before moving over to advisory. So I've had.
And what is CPC?
Sorry, Community Preservation Committee, not the other CPC. Thank you, Kathy. What else can I tell you? I'm an IT director. Most of my experience is in the pharmaceutical area. Currently, for the last year, I've been at a healthcare equipment company. That's it.
That's a lot. So Tim has been very instrumental the last 2 years on advisory. It's more than a year and a half, by the way, Tim, in helping us try to figure out, time flies, right? trying to figure out how to structure our IT department in Southborough because of all the risks that we all face today, private sector, public sector, et cetera. And so we have had quite a bit of influence on where we've ended up here, thanks in large part to Tim's help. So see, there's an example, is Tim's background has been really helpful with that. So it really does help to have a variety of backgrounds as far as what we do. So again, don't be scared because you don't do debits and credits for a living. All right, so I guess that leaves me. So I have been on advisory the longest I've been on, I think, since like 2009, 2010, something like that. Before that, I was on the old version of the Capital Planning Committee that we had. Used to be very much involved in Southborough Ed Foundation to support our schools, which of course we all know are great schools. I am a tax accountant by background. So I spend most of my time on taxes, not necessarily debits and credits. Been doing that since I was 15, so I've been doing it for a long, long time. So that's me. I've lived here for 30 years. I have one child. She is 27, so she is grown. So I've got flexibility that a lot of you don't have at this point, but I haven't forgotten, I promise, what it used to be like. So not to give too much away, but Andrew Pfaff is about to be a father for the first time too. So everyone on this screen, except for I think Marcy and I, have young children. So we will definitely take that into account as far as trying to set meetings in a way that it works for you guys. And I know it's still, no matter what, it's not going to be easy. It's hard to work and raise kids and do other things too. So it's appreciated, and we will try to make sure we work around it. So we picked 6:30 on Wednesday because that seemed to work for the committee that was in place at that time, but we will readdress that tonight as far as what we think works for you guys. All right.
My first child's due hopefully in the next 2 weeks. The 18th might be a little tight. We'll see.
Yeah, I know. So we'll, it is what it is. We know what's most important, and we will figure out how to get it done one way or the other.
I'll zoom in from the delivery room.
Yep. You do that. You do that. Somebody's not going to be really happy if you do that. I'd say that's not how you want to start off, Andrew.
So Tom, I think, is your audio working now?
So now, Tom, you are muted as far as Zoom goes. So I think you've made progress here. So if you can, there you go.
How about now?
Yep.
Is that good? Okay. Thanks
Yeah.
for the tips on the phone.
Yeah.
I assumed that others weren't having the same problem because it was it was crazy, the feedback. Anyhow, yeah, nice to speak with some of you again. I was on that meeting last month. Nice to meet the new ones. I grew up in Southborough, and I left for the better part of 20 years and then returned to town spring of 2019. I'm an attorney by trade. I currently work for Amazon on the business to business side, working in public sector team, dealing with procurement for governmental entities and cooperative contracts. So that's what I do now. I used to work in higher education as well. Some of you may have worked, my family's been in Southborough for quite a while, and some of you may have worked with my father. He was John Wilson. He was involved in town politics for pretty much my whole childhood. So as I joked with Paul Semino, I guess it was in the blood. And returning back here I was living in Southern California most recently, definitely wanted to get involved in some capacity in the town, and this opportunity presented itself, and I was very happy to become involved in that. Have two small children, 2 and 4 years old, so excited for them to experience their youth in this town as I did, and excited to see what challenges we can tackle together as part of this committee.
That's great. So it's not an understatement to say that Tom's father, John, was much beloved as a moderator, much respected. I don't remember how long he was moderator, but it was a long time. And then once he stepped down from that, he still kept doing other things. He never did not serve on something in Southborough until his death. He appointed me, I can tell you that. So I'm the one person on here that he did appoint. So he was Paul Semino's, I think, role model also. Paul can weigh in on that in a few minutes. I thought I'd bring Paul in a second to see if he's got anything to say to everybody. But anyway, that's great. So it's going to be an interesting time. I've talked to the older advisory members, and we have decided that what we need to do is basically roll up our sleeves and have a training session, 1 or 2, that really tries to get you guys up to speed fast. So you don't have to learn it yourselves, and you don't learn it slowly, so that we've never had a committee that had so many new people at one time. So therefore we need to do things a little bit differently this time. We think we really need to spend quite a bit of time trying to provide the background that you guys need to really understand what we are to do here. And I'm sure you've got the brains to do it. We just got to help you get the background to do it. It's interesting. Town government, especially when you are ruled by town meeting like we are, is a very interesting process. So I know, Marcy, you're used to the federal government. You'd be surprised at how much you see at the local level that's not different than the federal government. It's just there's lots of things that go on that you have to deal with. So it's all very interesting. We do live in a great town, no doubt about it. So everybody wants to make it better. We've got some great people that are part of our employee base in town right now. We've got good department heads. We've got a lot of really good committees going. So it's a really good time to be on a committee. I really think we've got a lot going for us. We've got things going in the right direction, but there's still some big things to tackle, like there always is, that are coming up. So we'll be part of that. Alrighty, so we've got to get through one perfunctory thing before we get to something a little bit more interesting. We've got every meeting, of course, we approve minutes from the previous meeting usually. Claire Reynolds is on the Zoom with us. Claire is our paid minute taker. However, she's more than that. Claire used to be on advisory for many years. She was a chair for years. She's been on lots of committees, so she knows a whole lot about how Southborough functions. She's currently spending most of her effort on the work that the I'm trying to avoid using acronyms tonight, Economic Development Committee is working on, which is the Downtown Initiative bylaw. So she's very interested in that, but she's very knowledgeable. So you'll hear her chime in sometimes and help us out here, but she's on there with us, so she will take minutes. So we've got the minutes in front of us for the last meeting, which was July 14th. The new people, of course, weren't here. So there's no reason for you guys to do anything but just abstain from the vote. If you want to vote, you can. It's not illegal to do it, but most people who don't go to a meeting don't vote on the minutes because they weren't there. So it's up to you. If you want to vote, you can, but you certainly don't need to. We've got a quorum tonight, and as long as we have a vote, we're fine. So with that, anybody look at the minutes that Claire sent? They were pretty brief this time, 2 pages.
Yeah, I had a couple edits.
All right, go ahead, AP.
Claire, line 14. It just should be June 10th, I think, for the motion. 23rd.
Yes, you're right. Whoops, wait a minute. Yes, thank you. You're right.
And
Copy and paste didn't change the dates.
And then line 82, and Jason, I might need your help on this one. I thought it was Jason and I abstained, and Tom was a yes.
That's right.
Yes. We couldn't vote.
Yes. So it's 2-1. She's right. She's got the 2-1-2 right, but Claire, you got it wrong. So I was yay. Jason abstained. Tim was no. Andrew was abstained, and Tom was yay. So the 2 yays were Cook and Wilson. The no was Martell, and the 2 abstentions were Malinowski and Pfaff.
Thank you.
Yep, that's all I got.
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
That's all you got, AP?
I had 2 that weren't mentioned that I sent to Claire. Row 38, it talks about the rescue boat being paid potential for CARES. I don't think that's accurate, but if it was said, then it should be in the minutes. But I think, Andrew, you might have gone down the ARPA route, is what I was thinking, not CARES. But it seemed like an incomplete thought. But I also don't think it was CARES.
No, it was ARPA. I don't see it. Line 38 in this one.
40.
I think I have
40 in ours. So look at 40.
Was it the American Rescue Plan?
Yeah, it would be that instead.
Okay.
of-
Yep, I see it. Where it says as what could get paid out of, instead of CARES funding, it should be ARP.
No, but that was for the Board of Health.
Yeah, so now
Whoops,
I'm.
whoops,
I'm
wrong
wrong.
line. Okay.
I'm looking at row 38. Says a proposed transfer from fiscal year
Okay.
22
COVID funding.
might be possible with COVID funding.
I think it was ARPA funding, right? Yeah, not COVID.
Well,
Yeah.
ARPA funding can be COVID funding too. COVID, but that's okay. So change it. Just change it, Claire, to ARPA.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Jason, what else?
And then,
You had line
Under-
77.
yeah, so in 77, Andrew, I'll need you here, and it's fine if you want to leave it, but it just says, we talk about a revenue reduction, but that doesn't mean we're equals paying for an expense. Right, so I think we were being asked to approve a reserve fund. If we mention something about revenue reduction, I don't get how that translates into equaling an expense payment. I get there may have been more funds available in certain areas to cover it, but they would all need like a town meeting authorization.
Yeah,
So-
all true, but he was just trying to say that if we can show a revenue reduction, we've got more flexibility with using those funds, and we might be able to use those funds for the boat. I mean, the boat's ordered. It's gonna be reserved.
If everyone's fine with that, I'm not too.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard how it's written in terms of what the meaning was there, but I think Kathy had it right. The idea was the revenue reduction calculation for ARPA allows for more latitude on spending, which could then use for police, fire, and public safety, which could have been used for the boat, but we approved the reserve fund transfer, so it's a movement.
Yeah, so if you just want to take it out, it's really not important to be in there at this point.
I think it distracted from what
Oh,
was
okay.
actually
All right,
discussed.
just take it out.
So I'll just take out that whole, okay.
So to our new members, the reserve fund that was just referred to, you're going to hear much more about that when we do our training session, but the town has basically an emergency fund that is approved every year in the budget. And the advisory committee is the sole custodian of that fund. We're the ones that approve use of it. And we don't do the official approval till after the end of the year when we know how the budget ended up and we see what other requests are. We want to know what people want during the year. We want them to come to us and let us know that they may need one at the end of the year, but we don't do the approval until early July. So that's what we did at this meeting last week, is approve the reserve fund transfers for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 21. So Southborough's on a June 30th fiscal year. So we just finished our fiscal year and have started a new one.
But
Okay.
Kathy, in this instance, we actually did approve a beginning of the year reserve transfer.
That's right. So you're right. So let me correct. So you're right. You're right. So this time, this is a boat for the fire department. The boat we have right now is leaking. And they have to keep pumping air into it. So Chief Achilles came to us and asked for a reserve fund transfer to buy a new boat, which we approved at last meeting. So this one is going to come out of the reserve fund. It's already done. So our reserve fund started this year at $190,000. So now we've taken $17,300 out of it. So that's officially done. So we've now got $173,000 to spend. All right. So thank you, Andrew. Okay, anything else, Jason, as far as minutes corrections? Okay, all right, let me see what I've got that you guys didn't mention. I think I got a couple. Okay, so Claire, go to line 43, the very last sentence. I just want you to take out that thing. That was an editorial comment I made that doesn't belong in the minutes. Casey's not sure if it's a reserve fund transfer.
Okay.
Okay, because Casey's so sure, but we shouldn't have done it. Okay, so get that out of there. Then let's see, line 53. It just was awkward the way you worded this. I mean, I know what you were saying. So instead of saying what you did, I think it sounds better to say want / need to support the permanent budget and to stop.
Okay.
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 Let's see. Then line 57, middle of the sentence, what Casey heard at her call. I didn't have a meeting with Carla. I had a call with her. Just say call.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm just being picky
Yep.
now. Okay, line 70 at the very end of the sentence, into, you don't need that to there, the TO, so was brought into the discussion.
yep.
with the to. Okay, and that's it for me. Okay, can someone make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
So that would be, okay, Jason seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Jason?
Aye.
Cook is aye. Tim?
Sorry, aye.
AP?
Aye.
Okay, now I'm still going to ask everybody what your vote is, so you can say either you vote, you can say yay, nay, or abstain. So Marcy? No, I can't hear you now, Marcy. I think you are muted. There you go.
Abstain?
Okay, Eric,
Abstain.
Adam,
Abstain.
and Tom.
Aye.
Okay, so yeah, because you were there, of course. Okay, so you got it clear. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
4
ayes and 3
ayes and
abstains. Yeah.
Yep. So can all the new people, you don't have town email addresses set up yet?
Yes, they do. Yes,
So-
they do. Yes, they do. We're going to talk about it in a second, but they do. They're
Oh,
also-
all right, okay.
And they're also part of the advisory committee list. So when you do advisory committee, it's going to go to them. So they are set up. I'm not sure they all know how to access it yet, which is what we're going to talk about, but they are set up.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay, so the next order of business is to elect officers for fiscal year 22. So we elect 3 officers, chair, vice chair, and secretary. Secretary is important, and we will continue to have a paid minute taker. So the secretary's job is to basically just make sure that the minutes get distributed on time, and then they get posted to the town website. So they're sent to the town clerk once they're ready to go, and you have to make sure they get done. And we've got 45 days from the date of the meeting to make sure they get posted. You can always post draft minutes, but they do need to get posted within 45 days. So that's important. So I'm bringing that up because we are going to probably ask one of our new members to be secretary. So I'm just trying to assure you that it's not as bad as you might think. You're not taking the minutes. Claire's taking the minutes for now. And we will always have a paid minute taker. So your job is to make sure that the minutes get distributed and then corrected and then posted. So it's not a horrible job. It could be a lot worse. It has been a lot worse in the past. Okay. So with that, I have talked to the older members about slots for this year. What I am going to propose to do is I would put my name in for chair again. This is my 3rd year as chair. This is my last year. This is my last year of my term. So I'd like to do it one more year. Andrew Pfaff is current vice chair. They have talked to him. He would like to, or willing to be vice chair again. So with that said, we're not wed to this. Does anyone have, want to do something different? And I know it's kind of hard to ask 4 new members. So I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. So I'm really looking at Tim and Jason as much as the 4 new ones as far as what to do for fiscal year 22. Then we'll talk about secretary separately. So Jason, any comment?
So I don't intend to vote on this or comment. If you want me to expand on that, I can.
We're going to expand on it in a minute. So everybody will understand why Jason is doing what he's doing in a few minutes, and it'll make more sense to you. Tim, any comment on at least me as chair, or at least saying that I want to be chair, and Andrew Pfaff wanting to be vice chair?
I'm good with it.
Okay, all righty. Okay, so let's talk about secretary for a moment. Is there anyone that is willing to do this without having their arm twisted? And I promise you, it really is not a terribly time-consuming job because you've got a really good minute taker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to hop in unless anybody else really really wants it, but I'm happy to contribute right away.
And Eric, I'll help you too. So I'm always here to help too. And again, you've got someone very experienced with Claire as far as knowing how this stuff is done. So it really will not be a too much of a heavy lift, I don't think. And we'll change it. We'll change that every year, so you won't be stuck with this for any more than you want to be.
I think this is being recorded, so if you guys tricked me into something much more arduous than you explained it as, like this is public, right? So
You can go back and look at these, and you can say, "See, there it is on tape." So absolutely.
No, just kidding. Very happy to help.
We're not trying to trick, I promise.
Eric,
Okay.
I did it when I joined the committee. That was, actually I walked into the room and they said, by the way, you're secretary. So it is a good way to get on into the committee, and you get to learn some things. It's kind of a good jumping off place.
I think we've all been at least a part-time secretary. We've all taken minutes at times, that much I can promise you. So this is not something we have not done ourselves, if that helps.
Oh, that's great. Appreciate it. Happy to help, like I said. So, and at least I sort of like said it versus Andrew, you just being told. So it's all good.
All right, you volunteered. Okay, so Tim, can you make the motion as far as the slate of officers?
Yes. I move that for.
Can't really hear you that well.
Sorry, can you not hear me?
Okay.
I move that for the upcoming year, 2021, 2022, that Kathy Cook be voted chair of advisory committee. Andrew Pfaff be voted vice chair of advisory committee. And Eric Fernandez be voted secretary of the advisory committee.
Okay, now I need someone to second that.
I second.
Okay, was that Tom?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so Tom Wilson seconded Claire. Okay, any other discussion as far as the officers for fiscal year 21, 22? So Cook, Pfaff, and Fernandez. Okay, so roll call vote. Tim,
Aye.
Marcy,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
AP.
Aye.
Cook is aye, and Jason.
Abstain.
Okay, so Claire, you got it. It's 7-0-1, with Jason being the abstention.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I didn't know Paul Semino was going to be in the audience today, so I hope he really is in the audience. I'm not going to embarrass him. So Jason, can you bring Paul in? So are you there, Paul? So you're definitely muted. There you are.
We do video too? Do I have video?
I was afraid you'd walked away, so I was hoping I was not going to embarrass you. So anyway,
No. I took a quick nap. I woke up just as you were naming me. So, I wanted to
say hi to everybody since you.
Yeah, hi everybody. We've all talked individually. We remains to be for the new folks, except for Tom, that I talk to you in person one of these days, maybe at the next meeting. I want to obviously thank you all for volunteering. A lot of you are very new to town. Another 5 years or so, and you never would have volunteered. That's my that's my experience. No, I'm kidding, of course, but we do appreciate. I think what I heard during the introductions was an eagerness to help the town that we all love, which I certainly appreciate. And I will tell you that with the sort of the OG folks that are on the screen, Kathy and Andrew and Tim and Jason, et cetera, take advantage of them. They will steer you right. The advisory committee has a very unique role, one of the most unique roles in town government. In a New England town meeting form of government, almost everything runs through the Board of Selectmen as sort of the executive of the town government. But town meeting appoints the advisory committee. They created, I should say, the advisory committee. They control, the fact that advisory committee exists, and advisory committee's major function is to report to town meeting at least once a year, if not more. And give town meeting a perspective on all of the things that they're asked to vote on at town meeting. And so, I've always taken it very seriously to do my best to put a very good advisory committee together, because it is so unique and it is so important to the smooth function of the town. The only other thing I would say tonight is, for those of you that don't realize it, Andrew Pfaff is sitting in a real room. That is not some BS Zoom background thing, right? He's got a barn the size of the townhouse, and the top level of that barn is where he's sitting right now. Big open bar area and a lot of exposed wood. And he's lucky in that regard. And I felt like I needed to out him as to where he is. So many people throw those sort of cheap backgrounds behind them, and you think you can pick them out, but that's a real thing. And the first time I saw him there, I didn't realize it. So welcome to everybody. Again, my great appreciation to all of you. I know you are in good hands with Kathy and team, and just thrilled to have everybody on board. You all have my contact information. Never hesitate to be in touch for any reason, and certainly do look forward to meeting you for real at some point soon. So Kathy, that's probably more than you bargained for, but I just wanted to.
No, that was great. I'm really glad you said what you said, because we're going to start at a really high level and then start paring it down. We're going to start at, town meeting, what it is, when it meets,
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. So that is going to seg really well into what I was going to say. So it was perfect. Almost like we had it planned.
Jotted a few things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Absolutely. All right, we'll lower my hand.
Okay.
I think the first text from Paul was, "Are you taking the call from a bar?"
No, it is a very nice place. We've always wanted to go over there. So Jason, you were frozen for a minute. Looks like you're okay now.
Yeah, I've been here. So
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you, Paul. So you can go back to your nap.
Cheers.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to bring up is what Jason alluded to a moment ago, but give you some background first. So the advisory committee is considered part of the legislative branch of our town government. We recommend to town meeting what we think they should vote on and how they should vote after we have spent a long time looking at things. So we're part of the town meeting legislative branch. Our bylaw that establishes the advisory committee allows advisory members to only sit on other committees under two circumstances. One is with the approval of the majority of the advisory committee, you can sit on one ad hoc committee, a temporary committee. Or you can also sit on one permanent committee that's appointed by the moderator. In other words, one that's still on the legislative side of the aisle. So Mr. Cimino appoints a couple of committees. He appoints advisory, he appoints personnel board, and he appoints the public works planning board. So advisory could sit on those other two permanently if we wanted someone to, and can't always have one person sit on any ad hoc committee, which we've done a lot over the years. We've had ad hoc committees to decide whether we wanted a town manager rather than a town administrator. We've had an ad hoc committee to determine whether to go forward with the road project that we have partially completed that has made the downtown look much nicer. I was on the committee as the advisory liaison that built the public safety building. And I believe we had advisory on the actual study committee also. So we have always had people, certainly on the major ad hoc committees. We've never had anyone on the other permanent committees that Paul's or the moderator support or appoints. But we could have, so we did. Okay, so roll forward to now. We used to have a capital budget committee that also was moderator appointed years ago, long time ago. I was on it. I was on it the year before they disbanded it. So that committee went away. Last year, so Jason, help me, March of 2020?
March of 2020, yep.
Okay, March of 2020, the Board of Selectmen appointed under their jurisdiction a new capital planning committee that was also ad hoc. And they appointed, at that point, Jason was not on advisory. He was still on the old public safety building committee, which was disbanded shortly after that. So he was appointed to be on the newly created capital planning committee, capital budget committee. It's a committee that could seat 7 people. So they seated a couple more people that were also new to a committee. And then they also put one Board of Selectmen person on there, Lisa Braccio. And then they appointed 2 advisory committee members on it. Again, it's ad hoc. So each advisory committee can be on one, but we could have multiple advisory members on the same one, which is what we did. We thought that was important because it was such a financially based committee. We thought it was really important to have advisory intimately involved in the committee. So there ended up being 2 advisory committee members on it first. And then when Jason got appointed 4 months later to advisory, we ended up with 3 advisory members on capital planning. Okay, so roll forward to this last budget season. One of the articles that was presented to the town meeting was to make that capital planning committee a permanent standing committee. Their work was so well received by the Board of Selectmen, they really wanted the committee to be permanent. So one of the articles, Article 33, was to make that happen. Well, if that happened, that was going to cause advisory to have a problem because we can't sit on a permanent committee that's appointed by the Board of Selectmen, only ad hoc. So at the same time, advisory proposed, we sponsored this article to change the advisory bylaw to allow us to sit specifically on a committee that was appointed to deal with capital appropriations. So that's how we were going to try to solve the problem, because we really all felt strongly that it was important that advisory was well represented on that committee. I don't know that any of you guys went to town meeting. If you did, you know what happened. So I will give it away, but both articles failed. 32, which was the advisory article, failed. It actually got voted down. 33 got pulled because we knew that if 32 failed, then if 33 passed, we were going to have an immediate problem because advisory couldn't sit on that committee anymore. And we didn't want that to happen that quickly. So that's where we left off at the town meeting that was just held this past May. So since then, we've had some conversations. The issue that got brought up at town meeting that caused Article 32 to fail was that some of the people in the town that got up and spoke were concerned that we were mixing up the legislative branch with the executive branch. Again, the capital planning committee is on the executive side, advisory is on the legislative side. So they were very concerned that advisory was going to mix up something that's not intended to be mixed up, that we were going to lose our objectivity and possibly be biased toward the capital planning committee outcome and not look at it objectively and dispassionately. One of the people who made that case at town meeting is a long-standing former advisory member. Has a lot of experience in town, so a lot of people listen very closely to what he says. So it failed, and it wasn't even close, it failed pretty badly. So that's what happened. So since then, we've regrouped and have rethought about what got said. We've listened, we've talked to people. We actually had that person come to a recent advisory meeting to talk to us. So he was part of the subsequent discussion. So subsequently, what we've decided to do is instead of asking for the same thing at the next town meeting is to do this a little bit differently. First of all, at the most recent meeting, we were also asking to reduce the number of advisory members from 9 to 7. it is really hard in this town to fill a 9-person committee. And so there was nothing notorious about this. We just really felt that 7 was a better committee. We had 7 for a long time. We felt like it worked really, really well. And we wanted it to be reduced. Well, unfortunately, we were asking for that. At the same time, we were asking for the ability to sit on this new standing capital planning committee. And they got conflated. So the town focused on the second part and not the reducing the number. So if I'd been quicker on my feet, I would have asked to separate the motion, but I wasn't. So the whole thing failed. So what we've decided to do, at least at a previous advisory meeting, we've decided to go forward with trying to get the committee officially reduced from 9 to 7, but not ask to change the advisory bylaw in any other way yet. Get that done first, and then go forward with possibly changing the bylaw so that one advisory person can sit on the standing capital planning committee. So that's kind of where it stands tonight. So since then, if that happens, then we've now got 2 still on it. So we've got Jason and Andrew on it. One of them would have to leave either advisory or capital planning. There's a lot of things going on in the town right now as far as capital. We are in the process of trying to decide whether we should close one of our K-8 schools. When the schools were built, we had a lot more kids in the school than we do today. So we have formed a ad hoc committee to basically help make that conclusion. If the conclusion is that we're recommending closing a school, then another committee will be formed to actually figure out what to do, which one to close, and then whichever one survives will need a lot of work on it. It's more likely than not, if the decision's made to close a school, that the school that will be closed would be Woodward. And then Neary would go through extensive rehabilitation to make it last for a long, long time and be able to support adding 1 or 2 more grades. Certainly not written in stone. I'm just telling you what I think at this point. I'm on that subcommittee that is trying to figure this out, as is Jason. So I think that may be where it's going to go if you were trying to read the tea leaves, but we're not done yet. But in order for Jason to really focus on that, which is where he would like to focus, it would be really hard for Jason to stay on advisory and be chair of another committee. He's chair of the capital planning committee right now. So if he continues to be chair of the standing committee, then he would be much more than a liaison from advisory to capital. He would, the chair is very important, and he would really be involved in that and not just be trying to watch from the advisory viewpoint, which is what a liaison is supposed to do. So Jason and I talked, and we felt like the better road at this point for him would be to resign from advisory, focus on capital, at least for now. This is not something that's got to last for 20 years. He can always come back to advisory once he thinks he's got things done there he'd like to get done. But we just felt like that would satisfy the town better, that we would end up being able to get our bylaw changed easier if that were to happen. If we just say, we heard you, we think 3 is too many too, and we think it should be 1, it should be liaison. That liaison will not vote at advisory meetings on anything that is from capital. So they'd have to abstain from voting, which is already in the bylaw. So that's what Jason was alluding to before, as far as why he wasn't voting on the offers tonight and abstained. So there's your background as to where we are. So that's why we've got 8 here. We believe that 7 is the ideal committee size in this town. If you look at anybody else that has 9, they've got vacancies too, just like us. So it's just really hard to fill vacancies right now with qualified people. So we believe that that's the right answer for a good reason. In that the decision that Jason and I discussed is probably the best for the town and for what Jason would like to do, at least in the short run. So now, having said that, which of course is a mouthful, Jason, why don't you, add, correct anything you want to say as far as what I just said?
Yeah, I wouldn't correct anything. I would just say I mean, I had extensive conversations with the moderator as well, who appointed me a year ago, because I fully believe in serving out a commitment that I made to the town. But I also think I was on record as soon as after that town meeting that we have to listen. And I think the best leadership you can do sometimes is listening. And I saw the path to achieving what this town needs to achieve, given all the moving priorities, as continuing to focus on capital, where I think we have a really smooth running committee at this point in time. And just when I think things are slowing down, we keep getting things thrown at us to vet and further analyze. And like Kathy mentioned, this school decision that we are involved with is clearly going to be a decision that impacts not only the current residents of Southborough, but generations to come, right? Because intertwined with that is also the concept of community center and what that may involve, all of it capital in nature. And I, as I sat back and looked at another budget season coming, I did not want to get halfway into a budget season, be halfway through a budget with a department head, and then us trying to make decisions on the fly. So I thought it was really important that I step away now before you guys assign liaisons and start working through the nuances. But I will say this to the newer members. I do plan to resign tomorrow, but I'm no longer a member of your committee. So you can call me anytime and we can talk about thoughts. And anyone that's probably watched, I do tend to have an opinion on most things going on, and don't want to also lead the witness, but also help you kind of understand how things tend to work. I'll be honest, you're going to be very frustrated at times as you work through how town government works. And that's not because of the department heads. That's not because of the employees. That's just town government at its finest. And it's what all towns work with. But I think you have a unique role, as we move forward, is, become almost a sponge, take it all in, understand what these departments are facing, liaise with the departments, get to know them. And, I'm not going to be a stranger, because I envision that I'm going to have to come back and present the school decision with obviously the school committee and others. I'm going to have to come back and present the capital plan for next year, which is not light, and anything else capital related in the future. And I also think that given some of the limitations that advisory does present, because of the uniqueness in terms of needing to stay focused on vetting what people are bringing forward, it'll allow me to explore a couple other interests that I have, initiatives that I think the town's going to undertake. So would not bind me from not being able to participate in some of those things. So with all that being said, I really don't want to leave, but it's the right decision, both personally and for the town.
Thank you, Jason. And I will just say, we don't want him to leave either, but I know he's really, he will, I'm sure he's going to watch our meetings, knowing him, and I'm sure he will do what is appropriate to do on the side. So we still got him to, as he said, bounce things off of, and we will. So thank you, Jason. Okay.
The moderator has his hand up.
All right. So you're going to bring him in?
Yeah, he's in.
Hey all again. So I hung around because I knew Jason had that announcement to make. I'm like two things. I'm very unhappy to have him be leaving advisory, but I wholeheartedly support it. Before he was ever on advisory, Jason was taking very prominent leadership roles in some very prominent projects in town, and will continue to do so, as you just heard. I don't have any hesitation at all to watch Jason do what he does for the betterment of our town. And so any way I could support that, I would. So I obviously wish him the best, because what he has in front of him with capital is, as he just said, is going to affect all of us for a long time. So I'm glad he's focused on that. Probably more than any other person in town that I know of. So Jason, appreciate everything. We'll see you again at some point in this group, and maybe in other things sooner than later. So that's it, Kathy. I just wanted to add that sentiment as well.
Thank you, Paul. That was well said.
Thank you.
Okay.
All righty. Okay, so let's talk about schedule next. The next meeting I'd like to have in person. I did send the invite today. So let's talk about email first of all. Is there anyone that is not on the town email and knows how it works at this point? Does anybody need any help still getting logged into the Southborough email system, which is Office 365, by the way, if you use it at work? So Marcia, you're okay? Okay. Eric, I know you were having some trouble.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if this is your doing, Kathy, or not, but within minutes of me emailing you, I got an email from the town saying, here's your temporary password. So I'm in. The only question I had was just to make sure that I shouldn't have received the minutes from the last meeting, because I don't have that in my inbox. So I just want to make sure that that wasn't something I should have received.
Claire wouldn't have known to send that to you. She sent that to people individually outside. So the advisory committee has a group, right? An email group that's set up that everybody's on it now. So I checked, we're all there. They'll probably take Jason off tomorrow. So when we use that, it's going to automatically go. Claire didn't send the minutes that way. She sent them to each individual person. So she didn't know to send them to you. So you did not get those minutes.
Great. Just want to make sure there was no lingering IT stuff. So all set.
Okay, you're all set. Tom, are you all set with your Southborough email?
I am also with the email. My only question was, so I was looking at it earlier before this meeting, the calendar, like how it's set for like this meeting, for example, in the, I don't know what you would call it, the item for this meeting in that calendar, there's no link to this meeting for that. So do you just go to the Southborough website and then just click on the link from there, or is there a different way?
No, something went wrong tonight. Normally, it's right in your calendar and you actually get a reminder in your email, your Southborough email, that you just can click on and go right into it. So something was wrong tonight. None of us got the reminder and it's not in the calendar. So I don't know what was done differently. So Southborough didn't have an IT head for about 5 months. We do now. His name is Jason Montijo. He goes by Jay. So feel free to reach out to him if you have an issue with anything. You can go right to him. It's JMontijo@southboroughma.com. But I just think something got set up wrong tonight, because we should have gotten reminders and we didn't. And you should have been able to click on that reminder and go right in. So
It's happened a few times now, Kathy, with other committees. I just checked the Zoom settings though. It was set up for everyone's email address and a reminder before. So probably just want to let Jay know tomorrow.
All right, so this sounds like it's a technical glitch. Zoom's worked pretty well since the pandemic, I think, for most people, but it does have glitches every once in a while. So sounds like we just had a glitch tonight, Tom, as far as being able to go right to your link and go right in instead of going to the town website. So you should not have.
My other question was, I think I can't remember if it was an email just to me or to the group you were talking about. And I think you mentioned how you, I don't know if you say like you CC or you include your personal email when you're doing it. My takeaway from that was it's okay to use my Gmail account as long as my town account is included on that communication. Is that, so it's not as if I'm trying to do a workaround by not including my town email account? Is that, I was just kind of wondering what the takeaway was from that.
The town clerk is in our audience, so he may be raising his hand when he hears what I've got to say, but so I'll watch and see if he's going to do it. The answer is it's not the best practice. I do it because I am just so paranoid about IT stuff these days. I just don't want to mix my work email with the town email. So I just haven't added that account to my normal screen. So I have to log into the internet to actually get to my Southborough email, which is fine with me. So that's why I do it the way I do it. So when I am sending an email, I just send it from my regular work email and I copy my Southborough. So it's got to be copied no matter what. And sometimes it's easy, you can forget. I get I will get told every once in a while that I didn't copy my Southborough email. So they've got to have it on the Southborough email because people do ask for, records. And so they've got to be able to pull the records of email conversations. So, if you do it, it's a little dangerous. I'll tell you that. You're probably better off doing the right way, which is not using your personal email for town stuff and just strictly using the town for town and personal for personal. That's your best practice. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. And then you can decide what you're going to do. But it's very important that you do use the town one for everything that deals with town business, one way or the other, whether it's primary or copied. And I will say this, if you want to send an email to the group using advisory committee, you can't do that through your non-Southborough email. You've got to do that through the Southborough email. It won't work. So that's one reason to always use your Southborough email. If you really want to use that group list, just go into your Southborough email. So most people do the right thing. They just use the one email. So I'm saying you could do it that way. You just got to make sure you copy the Southborough email every single time, and it's easy to forget.
And it's just as easy to have it on your phone these days to have another email account.
Yeah. But if you need any help with technology, Jay is very helpful. So Eric, the reason you got that email when you did is because I emailed Jay as soon as I saw your email and he got right on it. So he's very responsive as far as trying to do this stuff. He's doing this all by himself. He's got the capacity to hire more people. And they're working on that now. So hopefully he'll have more help soon. But right now he's kind of handling everything from A to Z and doing a pretty good job at it too. And he came in when we had no one for 5 months. So he had to pick up a lot of stuff that had gotten pushed to the side. So he is doing a yeoman's job right now. Okay. All right. So Tom, you're all set with your email. Adam, are you all set with your Southborough email?
Yeah, I don't have any problem getting my emails to the town email address. The question that I have is, do most people access the email through just like the normal web browser, or do you try and put it into a Outlook of some sort?
I think you've
A
got,
browser?
I think so. Jason does not, I do browser, Jason does browser. I think AP's got it on his phone as an account, right?
I have a phone
Okay.
and I have Outlook.
So if I access, I'll probably not put it into Outlook. Is there a lot of emails that we need to be checking frequently, or is the expectation sort of once in a while, each day is okay? What's the on-demand nature to the reply, I guess, to emails as well?
Oh, certainly once a day is fine.
Okay.
Definitely. If you can do once a day, that's great. Once every 2 days is probably fine. You don't get tons of emails. And for good for us, we don't get a lot of junk through that email either. I guess the spam filter is pretty good that they've got set up. So you don't get a whole lot of junk either. I've gotten a couple recently with those people who try to get you to click on and they say they got money for you. So I just blocked them. But I don't have a lot of those. So there's not a lot of junk that comes through it. So the answer to your question is you do not have to check it more than once a day, and once every 2 days is probably fine. If I think there's something real important, I'll make sure that you know about it. So
Okay.
okay. So
Yeah, because I don't think I'll get a pop-up saying I have a new email, since I'll be checking it through the web browser.
this is not like at work where you're
Yeah.
just busy with emails all day long, like we know. So it's much different than that. So you won't get a whole lot of emails that are important.
And we're not really supposed to be sending a lot of emails. I mean, you can do most of the emails are minute related or scheduling related, which are fine. But in terms of any emails trying to collaborate or work on anything are just strictly forbidden. All that has to happen in the meeting. So
And you get emails from other departments where they're just copying a lot of people just to let you know something like there's a project planning board, whatever, which you really don't need to address. So you get copied on things that really don't matter to us very much. So Andrew's right. The substance stuff we really need to do in person at our meetings for the most part. And you definitely don't want to start an email thread that you're trying to get something discussed that you're copying everybody. So that's what you got to be careful about. So that's what I was trying to warn you guys about today. Our town clerk is going to come to our next meeting, and he's going to go over the open meeting law, how it works, et cetera, because you're just not used to it as far as how you got to act when you're talking about state rules that govern all this stuff. You got a whiff of it if you've done the ethics test. So there's just rules that we're not used to dealing with in our for-profit businesses as far as how things have to work. So he'll be here. He's very good at this. Jim used to be on advisory also. So he's very good at explaining what we should know as far as that kind of stuff goes. So he'll be there next time. Okay. All right. Okay. So Tom, I know you declined the 18th, and I'm just trying to confirm you meant to, that you can't come on the 18th. So this is an in-person meeting. It started at 6:30 at the Public Safety Building.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the Midwest for work that week.
So this was been the advantage of Zoom. Several of us have been at lots of different places over this past year and a half, and it's been pretty seamless. And of course, when you do in-person meetings, then that doesn't help that much anymore when you're not here. Is there anyone else besides Tom that can't attend a meeting on the 18th?
That might be.
Oh, that's true.
That week we're targeting so maybe the week before or the week after would be better, but.
Okay, let's do the week after because we've got stuff to get ready, as you know, Andrew, and we can't get it done in a week. So what about the next week, the 25th? Anyone can't come on the 25th? Again, in person? So no one's saying no. Eric is not saying no. Adam's not saying no. Marcy's not saying no. Tim?
Looks clear for now.
All right. See, for example, Tim's on vacation tonight, and here he is. So see, you can't even have a vacation anymore when you've got Zoom. All right. So AP, we'll adjust again if we have to. We'll see what happens as far as baby. Okay. So let's set the next meeting then for the 25th, because we really do need to get everyone to this first meeting, because we really are going to spend as much time as possible trying to get everybody up to speed on how town finances and other things that are relevant work. All right. Okay, everybody. So when you go in the public safety building, you go in, the lobby's in front of you, and you take a left, and then the conference room's on your left. You can't miss it. It's a big room, so that's where the meeting will be held. It's a very nice room for having meetings. Jason,
Hey, Kathy, just a suggestion on that is if there's any way to find a way to record it so that when you have your next group of 4 or 5 advisory members that you can, whatever, it sounds like you're putting a lot of effort into preparing for it. So that way others can benefit from it in the future.
All right. I think
or before they get appointed.
Well, you don't do it before, Jason. You want them to be appointed, right? So anyway.
Kathy, would it be more beneficial to do it on a Zoom? We can record it and we can present materials easier that way. I don't know. But.
So for those, is everybody using Zoom like crazy at work? So you're all used to Zooms? Is anybody not using Zoom or Teams or something similar to it? Maybe that's what we should do for this one. But I just want to have one meeting that we actually see each other at some point physically. So if we don't during this one, then yeah, because it would certainly make it easier for all the people that I'm inviting to come to help us here to do the Zoom. So does anyone have an issue with doing the education one on Zoom? Okay. And okay, so let's do the 25th. We'll have it as a Zoom. And then one of the next few after that, we'll have an in-person just to say hello. But then the next question is, which is related, do you prefer, we can do Zooms all the way through next April, as far as we know. Then they may extend it further when they realize how helpful this has been to committee members who have lots going on. So is there a preference to meet in person versus Zoom? Does the Zoom really help those with young kids? Okay, so Tim, yes. Andrew?
Helps a lot.
Okay, so I'm happy. It helps me. I can tell you that. Okay, so Humor, we're going to do one in-person one, and then we'll just do Zooms unless somebody has a compelling reason not to. One of our beloved advisory members that resigned recently, Judy Butts, who'd been on for a long time, one of the reasons she didn't want to stay on was because she really did not like the Zoom. Judy was a professor and had retired from teaching and just really didn't like the Zooms at all. So that was part of her decision. So anyway, okay, so we are going to do Zooms then for the short term. All right. Okay.
I have a question. Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
I don't know if you were staying in the world of scheduling, but just in general, how, kind of a two-part question, because it's about the time, if like 6:30 is the time that these meetings are typically at, and then also going along with that, how long do they typically run? Because I know for me and I realize the second part of that could vary, but this, with two small kids, like later's better for me. Like this is just like right in the belly of the beast at this time. So,
I agree.
but I know I guess if it's Zoom, it takes out, but so like I said, two-part
We're
question.
trying to do this to okay, so I'm looking at Tim Martell, Eric, you, Andrew Soon, and Adam. So Jason would have waited here if you were going to still be on, because he's got the same issue. Okay, so Marcy, you have no young kids, correct?
That is right. I have no young kids.
So are you
It's all
relatively
gone.
flexible as far as the time we meet, as long as we don't meet during your work hours?
Yes, I'm totally flexible on time.
Okay, so Marcy and I are going to stand back for a moment and let the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you decide what might work as far as time. But Tom, to answer the second part of your question, almost always 2 hours, and they can go to 3. It depends on what's on the agenda, depends on where we are in the budget process, it depends on how close we get to town meeting, which, by the way, for everybody, is the last Saturday in March, generally, unless it's a holiday, then it'll be the one before that. So when we start getting much closer to that, we have to, we've got decisions to be made. So they could last. They haven't gone, I can't remember anything that's gone much beyond 3 hours.
I think we did one for marathon. I think it was one where we had a joint meeting with the selectmen or something and then reconvened afterwards.
Yeah. So a couple times we did a joint meeting with the selectmen first, then we had our own meeting. That was a long night. But that was only twice that we did that.
So for capital, we meet at 7:30. I think that's Jason's preference for his young kids. So I don't know if that works for Tom. I don't know what time bedtime is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the time that I had in mind to make it real. Because if I'm coming back from the city, if I take the trip, it's like I'm not getting home till 6 or so. And yeah, that at least that's like I said, the later it goes, the better for me. But I realize that you have to factor in what's going on the back end of that as well. But yeah, that was sort of for me, that was going to be the time that I would suggest, not knowing, when these, and if there's one that's projected to be substantially longer from the get-go, if the time was moved up too. So yeah, that's, I'm just trying to think, yeah, that would be the time that I would probably have thrown out there as well.
Okay, so we've got 2 for 7:30. Eric?
Yeah, I'm supportive of that. If 6:30 is a call, I'll work with it, but I'm supportive of 7:30. That helps with bedtime and meals, etc.
Okay, Tim?
They adjust it based upon the agenda. I prefer to be done by 10.
I think that makes sense. 7:30, and if we think it's going to be a 2-hour or so meeting, and then if we think it's
you can always carry things over that aren't time sensitive. So we will just have a goal of being done by 10, right? And we will prioritize what has to be done. And if we've got to carry it over, we'll carry it over. How about that for a plan?
Works for me.
Okay. All right, Adam, you're okay with 7:30?
Absolutely. That works better for me as well.
Okay. All right. So 7:30 it is. Going forward.
Kathy, we'll stick with Wednesdays. I think that's
yeah. So next night. So we pick Wednesdays because it seemed to work. Tuesdays Board of Selectmen meets, so it's kind of nice to know what they have done first. So I have a regular meeting with the town administrator and the town treasurer on Wednesday morning. And they basically update me on anything I need to know from the previous night's meeting. So I don't always go to those meetings. I go when I can, but I don't go every time for sure. And then one of our selectmen is very nice about calling me very often and making sure I know what I need to know as far as what they're doing. So Wednesday has worked because, nobody's going to want to do it on Friday. So throw Friday out. So our choices are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday would interfere with the Board of Selectmen. So if we need to meet with them, it's kind of nice to have a different night. So anyone have an issue with Wednesday, or if you do, what night would you like?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Okay. All right. So Wednesdays at 7:30 going forward, starting with the next meeting, which is 8/12. 25. Okay, so another date to get on your calendar, at least for now, is November 1st, which will be a Monday night. Right now, we believe we're going to have a special town meeting on November 1st. It will have a limited agenda as far as what's on what we call the warrant, which is a list of all the things we're voting on. There's a whole lot of English terms in New England town meeting jargon that you got to get used to. They're just kind of weird words that we don't use much anymore, but they're a carryover. So we think we're going to have one. So far, what we believe will be on that warrant is most importantly the bylaw that is what we call the Downtown Initiative bylaw that is trying to add flexibility to what can be built downtown in a broad sense. There's more, we'll talk much more about that, but they weren't ready at this past town meeting. They weren't ready the previous town meeting. And so we're hoping they're going to be ready for November 1st. And by being ready, we're hoping that the relevant committees, which would be the Board of Selectmen and Planning Board mostly, support it. And then advisory would then take a crack at it as far as what our opinion is. But right now they're trying to get through some of the details that people have issues with. So that's the main reason to have that special town meeting. If they end up believing it's still not ready, they probably will not have the special town meeting. They can't really have it later than that because then you run into the time period where the tax rate needs to get set for fiscal year 22. It's already pushing it with November 1st. And then of course you got the holidays and you got winter and snow, whatever. So if they don't do it November 1st, my guess is they won't do it. We'll just have our regular meeting next March. The other things that could be on the one for November would be the advisory bylaw change from 9 to 7 committee members. But believe me, if that's the only thing that's being debated, we will not have a special town meeting just for that. That would be a waste of time. There might be changes to the Board of Health budget, which you'll hear much more about soon for that meeting. And there might be a proposal for a noise bylaw. There was a citizen-sponsored noise bylaw article this past town meeting that failed, but it didn't fail because people don't think we should not have a noise bylaw. They just didn't like that particular noise bylaw. A lot of people thought it was too restrictive. Our police chief didn't support it, and he had a lot of clout as far as that decision goes. Advisory did not support it. Board of Selectmen did not support it, so it failed. But the town heard that it's probably something that is needed. A lot of towns have it. And so there is a committee that is being formed as we speak to basically come back with a proposal for a noise bylaw. However, they haven't seated the committee yet. They're talking about it. They've been debating who to put on it, but it's still not formally seated yet and probably won't be till September at this rate. So therefore, I don't know that they've got enough time to actually get this done before November 1st. Because they not only have to have it get done, then you've got to have meetings and people, it's got to be vetted. You got to give the public a chance to hear it. So I just don't think it's going to happen, but I could be wrong. We'll see. So that's the things that could be on the fall town meeting. Capital may come forward with some things. I'm not sure of what Jason's committee is going to do. So anyway, I still think though the driver is the downtown initiative. If that one is not deemed to be fully supported and ready to go, then I think that they will push that again to probably the spring and not have the special fall town meeting because it's a lot of work and it's expensive to do. But it would be on a Monday night and it would start at I believe 7:30. Okay, and they will have. This should be back inside Trotter. We've had the last two outside because of the pandemic. So this one should be back in the Trotter auditorium. And if it is, absent something not crazy going on with the pandemic still, which of course it could be, they do offer babysitting. They have Girl Scouts, et cetera, that help take care of small kids while their parents go in and vote, et cetera. So that's the plan. So we'll talk more about it as far as that goes when it comes up, when we know more. Okay, so that's all I wanted to do tonight. I was originally going to start getting into some of the things advisory does, but then I decided we're just going to wait to our training meeting and bring it all in at one time so that it all fits together and not give you bits of it tonight that don't make a lot of sense until you really understand the big picture. So what I'm planning on doing is sending everybody a package that I'm going to work with Tim and Andrew Pfaff to put together so that you guys have something to look at before the next meeting that hopefully will give you kind of a head start on understanding things. I've got a nice flow chart for the town as far as how the departments work, how advisory works. Everything's color coded, so which means something. So I'm hoping this package will help you and you'll have time to look at it. I'll get it to you as soon as I can. But now with 3 weeks, we should have plenty of time to get that to you. Okay. All right. So now we're at the point of every meeting where we ask for the public to comment. So can you guys see who's in the audience? Is it just, I guess we all can see it, right? You can see it. So we've got, let's see, Paul's still there. Sam Stivers is there. Sam is on the Board of Selectmen. He was elected 2 years ago. This is his third year that he started. He was on advisory for many years. He goes to, I truly believe, every single committee meeting in this town, and don't ask me how. He works full time and works really, really long hours, but he does. He attends, I think, pretty much every one. So he's also a really good, helpful resource as far as questions, etc. Tim Litt is in the audience. Tim is another person. Tim is not on committees, but he has been very helpful in putting together a couple committees, especially the Municipal Technology Committee. Which we now have in its staff with really helpful people that are in this business for a living and are just really good at what they do. So Tim is always very helpful to all committees. He is very smart guy, knows a lot of stuff. It's amazing how much detail he has in his head. And so he comes to most of the meetings and absolutely has his hand up right now. And he will correct me when I say something wrong. No qualms about that. And has always added a lot of value to us because of his breadth of knowledge. So, and then Kevin Miller is in the audience tonight. And I believe, Marcy, is that your husband? Okay, so your husband is watching us. So he's watching what you're doing. So anyway, Jason, you want to bring Tim in for a second? He's got his hand up.
Greetings. Two things. First, I'm really glad that you've managed to repopulate the committee. I know that's been a challenge. I just wanted to comment on the choice to go with Zoom primarily. As Kathy mentioned, I pay attention to a lot of the goings on in town, and I've done it before the pandemic in Zoom. I've done it through Zoom. And hopefully we'll continue to do that. While it's certainly convenient for the members and to some extent for the public to do things on Zoom, I've certainly seen that the quality of interactions over Zoom is less than the quality of interactions in a meeting that's held in person. And, I think you lose a lot when you're doing everything electronically. And I say that, by the way, as a technologist. So I would encourage you to think carefully before you go whole hog into continuing with Zoom.
So Tim, I don't disagree with you as far as that goes. We all know, we all do this, during the daytime, right? So we know what we're missing as far as not sitting down at the conference table with people, right? We get it. But if you look at the pros of this, I don't remember hardly anyone missing a meeting this past year. The attendance was almost perfect, which you never have with in-person meetings, at least during my tenure. So it definitely helped attendance. And if you look, so everyone, you can actually go watch this meeting on YouTube tomorrow. And if you look at how many times it got viewed, it's many, many, many more times than what you're seeing in the audience tonight. So there are people that actually go watch the meeting at, either right now they're watching it on YouTube Live or they watch it later. So we're getting many more people watching advisory meetings than we used to have. When you have the in-person meetings, we have, 2 or 3 people that come regularly, and that's about it. You don't get a large swath of the public. So I do think it does help the public see what we're doing and understand more about it. So I think there's pros and cons, Tim. So I agree. I don't know if, if it's a net pro, net negative. I actually think it's a net pro, but I hear you as far as the downside. I mean, I said we're going to have a meeting soon in person, so we are going to do one for sure, and then we'll continue to talk about it and decide what we think works best. But it does make it. I mean, I had somebody very sick in my family this last year, and I was able to fly to Tennessee like every other week and still do Zoom meetings. So it helped me a whole lot to be able to do Zooms. You can go on, as Tim knows, on vacation and still do your Zoom meeting. So we'll see. We hear you. So thank you for your comments, and we will.
I mean, I recognize the pros, and I've been known to time shift meetings by watching them on YouTube afterwards as well. But
Yeah,
I think going in, entirely Zoom or primarily Zoom, there are options for remote participation. I know that Sam is looking into, that's Southborough Access Media is looking into better hybrid meetings where you can have both Zoom-like meetings and in person. But I think you don't want to swing the pendulum all the way in the Zoom direction is where I am at this point. For what it's worth.
One more pro too, Tim, is minutes. When you're doing minutes, you can go back and check and make sure you're right. It's hard to take minutes, right, when you've got so much going on. So with the Zoom, the pro is you can go back and check them. The con is the minutes are too long because you can quote people and whatever. So we've dealt with that. I think we've got that under control. So I hear you. So thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just say, Tim, I agree. Once the SAM rooms get done, if they do the public safety building, and it's actually seamless in terms of having it in person, but having people be able to participate online, and it's being recorded and it's still on YouTube, I would certainly think we can revisit doing some of our meetings in person and saving the option for Zoom if people are, summertime, people are on vacation or certain things. But I think watching the selectmen's meeting on how they have to mute, unmute, do this.
Oh, that's crazy. That does not work.
I don't want to do that. So I think once they get to that level of technology to be able to have a pretty seamless meeting in person but still be recorded, I think we can reevaluate whether or not.
Yeah, the new cable TV contracts guarantee the ability to broadcast from the public safety building and the library, as well as the meeting room, the McAuliffe room in Townhouse.
Good. All right. Thank you, Tim.
Sure.
Add Andrew's barn to that list.
There you go. That's where we really need to be.
I have enough TVs. We can just broadcast on that.
Yep, that's where we need to be. Okay. So I don't see anyone else in the public that has their hand raised. So we will. Is there anybody else that has a question, especially our newest members, before we go tonight?
Tom has his hand up.
Yeah, one thing, going back to scheduling, just to go back, if we are, let's say that November 1st meeting happens, if we're planning backwards from there, just in the next, whatever we're talking, 10, 12 weeks or something like that, what would the expected cadence of these meetings to be? If we're sticking with Wednesdays, would we be looking at doing it like in the every third Wednesday until then, but then meeting more frequently right before that meeting, just so I can try to keep something in mind?
We should count on every other Wednesday for now. We really do need to. We've got a lot going on besides the fall town meeting that we've got. We've got a big list of things we wanted to tackle over the summer in the non-budget season. And they're going to take a lot of thought and a lot of work to actually get through them. So we should count on every other week meetings for now, starting with September 25th. Excuse me, August 25th. Yeah, August 25th.
Okay.
Well, Joseph,
and in order for, sorry.
So it's not, Tom, as much as that because of the fall time meeting, because we've already done a lot of work on the things that are going to be on that warrant. We have to get you guys up to speed, but it's not like we're starting from scratch on anything we think is going to be on it. So I don't think that's going to take a lot of extra meetings as far as that one goes, unless if capital comes through and says they've got a whole lot of things that they want to be approved at the fall town meeting, then that may be different.
Not
But
happening. We've already surveyed department heads.
no,
Maybe
So that-
one item for the regional schools, that's it.
okay, good. So that's not going to be an issue either. So our work really for now is on things that are not specific budget for fiscal year 20. Boy, time is flying. Fiscal year 23. And I mean, they're deep things like, should we have a stabilization fund? We wanted to get our arms around all the money available to Southborough from the various, I'm just calling them COVID bills. There's a lot of money that's been allocated to Southborough. So we're trying to get our arms around that and help make recommendations as far as what to do with that. Make sure we spend that wisely. We want to look at revolving funds. So we just got a list of things that are going to take some time to get through. They're not just quick things. So we're going to have to meet every other week if we're going to get a lot of these done.
My follow-up to that was just from like a legal standpoint. Do we have to have 5 members in order for a meeting to take place? Okay.
Yes, for now. And then if the bylaw gets changed from 9 to 7 in the fall, the quorum would be reduced to 4 once the legislature approves it. So once the town approves it, then it's got to go legislature, then they've got to approve it. So it still wouldn't be effective on November 1st necessarily. You know, I think Jim told me it would take about 6 weeks, maybe 2 months to get it approved by the state. So it might be early next year before that quorum would be reduced to 4. But let me just say this. It's really important to try to get to every meeting you can, even if you can't come to the whole thing, because so much gets discussed. And you'll see that if everybody's there, we really work as a really good team and we're all on the same page as far as what we're doing. So yeah, we can't have a meeting without a quorum, that's for sure, but it's really my preference. And I think Tim's and Andrew's and would have been Jason's too, to try to get everybody there every time we can, because you miss so much if you miss a meeting. You can read the minutes, that's for sure. But again, a benefit of Zoom, you can go back and watch it, which we've all done when we've missed a meeting. Our meetings that you're not even part of, I went and watched the ZBA meeting the other night. So you can go back and watch. So that will be helpful. We'll make sure that these meetings are taped one way or another, whether we're Zooming or not. So you can do that, but it's just real important to try to set a schedule that we think everybody's got the ability to get to, absent something going on, which we always have pop up. All right. Okay, any other questions from Marcy, from Adam, or from Eric?
No question.
Okay, so feel free to reach out to any of the, what can I say, but the older ones, the O group, one-on-one, that's fine to ask a question to. You guys aren't going to decide anything between the two of you. If you need to, you've got Jay Montijo available for technological issues. You're going to meet some people from the town at the next meeting. So you'll kind of get, put some names with faces as far as people who are in key positions in the town. So you'll get to know them better. You can always reach out to them directly too, which we'll explain more about that next time too. All right, but truly, we are grateful that you guys have agreed to do this. I love talking to each one of you. You all sound like eager beavers. And again, I really appreciate you doing this. I know how busy you are. And we will do our best to make you feel like what you're doing is worthwhile and not wasting your time. Okay. All right. And AP, keep us posted. Okay. And Jason, we'll talk. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Jason,
so,
thank you
yeah,
for all your work on advisory, and I will see you on capital.
Yeah, and ditto for me too, Jason. You know what I think of you. I hope.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the last thing we do is we ask for a motion to adjourn, and our former member Judy used to have that role because she was ready to go to bed. So we'll have to have a new person to do it. So
I think Jason should get the honors.
all right, Jason.
I will move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Tim.
Aye.
Cook is aye. Marcy.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
And Adam.
Aye.
Okay, so thank you guys. See you on the 25th.
Thank you all.
Yeah.